Welcome to Powered by Podio. Automation is everything. Supercharge your business with Podio. Get ready for another episode of Supercharged with Jordan Samuel Fleming, your weekly dive into the awesome impact workflow and automation can have on your business when it's powered by Podio. Join us each week as we learn from the top Podio partners in the world, as we investigate system integrations and add-ons, and hear from real business owners who have implemented Podio into their business. Now, join your host Jordan Samuel Fleming, CEO of Game Changers, for this week's episode.
Hey everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of Supercharged. I'm your host Jordan Samuel Fleming, here to talk all about the power of workflow and automation when your business is powered by Podio. Today, delighted to welcome Dan Kogan from One Digital. They are a phenomenal e-commerce and digital marketing company in the US. Really are a top-class company that delivers an incredible service to clients all over the world and to clients who are really a demanding e-commerce environment, where results really matter. Podio has been part of their journey for a number of years, and it's a really interesting conversation about how Dan, as the CEO, tried to find a tool that would help him run his business the way he wanted to do. And of course, he talks a bit about the journey of trying different systems out until finally settling on Podio. And I think that's going to resonate with a lot of people who are looking for the right sort of tool and haven't quite found it yet. And then, of course, we dive a little deeper into some of the newer things. Once they've begun working in Podio, we start to add automation, which is when, of course, our company got involved. And not only did we start to really alleviate the day-to-day data entry, copying, and management of data from their team, but in the most recent versions of some of the things we've been doing, we have simplified and automated an enormous part of the financial structure of the business, which has saved countless hours per day from a management point of view and gives completely different capabilities of being able to bill and see transparently all sorts of different financial data. So really interesting as we're sort of getting into the conversation of how he found it, how he built it up, and then of course how it took off when we started to add these sorts of automations and interactions with other systems, particularly in this episode, Quickbooks Online. So I think this is a really great episode. I love talking to Dan. We've been working together for years, so know him really well. He's got a fantastic business. I do encourage you to check it out. The link's in the podcast page and in the description. If you're selling something online, they can help. I think it's going to be a great episode to just learn a bit about someone who's an incredibly successful businessman and how they developed a relationship with Podio that ultimately has been an incredibly fruitful one for them. So let's dive right in.
Cool.
All right. Well, so Dan, tell me a bit. I mean, obviously I've known you for a number of years, but so how did you originally find Podio? Because we've been working together for a while, but I mean, Jesus, I don't remember. Like, this is a while back. How did you find it?
Yeah, this is a wild story. Well, wild for anybody that's an entrepreneur trying to figure out what their best platform could be, that scales and doesn't want to go from one to another. But like, I think 9 years ago when I started the company, I think we started with Asana. Asana was the platform. It was pretty new back then, and it was giving me the abilities that I needed. But as we started growing and we had more and more clients and accounts, and we needed more features, I went through every software out there. I probably spent about 30 days on Teamwork, 30 days on Salesforce, 30 days on every platform that would give me 30 days for free, to figure out what would work for me. The problem is I had a unique situation where we really needed the client to see one thing and us to see something else. And I needed to have full control what the vendors would see versus what my salespeople would see. And none of those platforms and softwares allowed that type of integration and allowed the flexibility. So At some point, I ran into Podio at probably my seventh software that I was looking into. And during this time, you just have to imagine my team. And while we have Asana, at the same time, I'm asking my team to try another software and then another one and then another one. They were going ballistic. They were going insane. But I finally found Podio, and I realized I can drag and drop and sort of create things for myself the way I want it. It had the flexibility without having to really code. It had just amazing abilities to customize to really fit what we needed. My biggest issue with Podio in the beginning was it's kind of like, geez, mind expanding. My biggest issue was like seeing the full potential of what I could do, because there's no walls, there's no like guardrails, just like do what you want.
It's like a blank
And
page
yeah,
where you don't even have any guidance of like you could go over there. It's just like open, right?
it's kind of like when you were a kid and somebody gave you like a 400 piece Lego set, or 4,000 piece Lego set. And you open up the box and you're excited. You see the pictures and you open up the box and all the pieces are around you and it's intimidating. You're like, oh shit, what the heck am I going to do? What am I building first? Where do I go? How is it going to use? Am I going to waste my time when I do this? So it was huge. I saw limitless potential, but then I also saw the challenges of it.
Limitless pain.
Yeah, exactly right. And I started using it. I started to invite my team members, and I just realized, wow, this is going to take some work, it's going to take some time, but this seems like it has the structure that I need versus coming into a software that is basically, you get what you get and that's it.
And I mean, you guys obviously, I'll be linking to your website in the podcast page, but I mean, you guys at this point, how many people were there? Because you're a top flight e-commerce company. How you which means lots of project. It means lots of things happening, deadlines, etc. How many people, when you were making this transition, did you have at this point?
How many employees, you mean?
Yeah.
Well, when we started, it wasn't a lot of people. You're talking about maybe, I guess you could probably say about maybe 20 people in the beginning, just between vendors. But there was a lot of clients. I mean, there was a lot of clients, but internally as a team, maybe about 20 people were using the software.
But that's still, I mean, that given what you described about kind of leapfrogging from system to system and try this one, I tried that, to get 20 people to jump and jump and jump and jump would be probably, as you say, A, very frustrating, and B, how did you get them to buy in when you finally, like at some point it's like cry wolf, right? Oh, yeah, Dan here with another goddamn system, right? And so how did you get them? Was it easy to get them to buy into it, or did it take, what was that journey like to get them to buy into Podio?
So what I found was that people have a hard time understanding Podio. A lot of people have a hard time understanding Podio when they first get in it. And they have a hard time imagining what it could be as well. So the way that I found what was successful was customizing it and having it built for them. So basically building the path before they got there. So when they got on the journey, the path was there and it was so customized. And they were like, oh my God, this is what I've been waiting for. Oh my God, this is what I wanted. They didn't even know they needed it that way. And I just made it a sequential step-by-step per what our process at One Digital was. So at One Digital, we have a process that we deal with for leads, for contacts, for clients, for internal development, for SEO, PPC, and so on. And then what I would just do is lay down that path with the different apps. And when they came in, they were like, wow, this is, I don't have to dig around a 1,000 feature software that has nothing to do with me. And it's mostly for Salesforce, examples. And this was more tailored to them. So they were buying in immediately.
So because you were able, like, that's a great example, the Salesforce bit, where I know when I have seen Salesforce because one of our clients used it or whatever, when I've used it, I would say most people I've ever seen use Salesforce use a tenth of it at most.
Yep.
Like
Yep.
it's made for IBM to sell lots of shit. and so the small company that's just trying to use it as a CRM, it's got like overkill of stuff there, and you end up not looking at this many tabs and not using this many fields and all of that. So, and that causes a different level of confusion where they're just like, where do I go to find the few things I need? So that's how you manage that transition, is giving them, hey man, this is all you need.
That's
There's
it.
nothing extra.
I kept it very focused, very, very focused, very narrow, very to the point. And that made a world of difference.
And when you talk about the processes that you had, so many companies talk processes, but they don't really have, like they say process, but they don't do it. Did you have a pretty rigorously laid out process for all these things?
No, I mean, at the time we thought we did. Years ago we thought we did, but processes always evolve. You nip and you tuck and you nip and you tuck. So when we first put it all together, it was the processes we had at the time for the designer, for the developer, for the QA, for whatever, and it was all we knew. So we thought it was great. Looking back, I mean, it was amateur to say the least. However, one of the most beautiful things about Podio is you're not going into a system like a Salesforce with IBM where you have everything already and you don't know what to use. You're literally biting chunks and pieces. So you're graduating as you go down this journey, and you're adapting the system to it. Sometimes it's painful to adapt the system because you're introducing all these different things to the team all the time. But I find that it's been a much better experience than giving them this full blown out universe of a software that's for an Fortune 500 enterprise company. That's not what we are. We're a small, boutique e-commerce agency. So for us, it made a lot of sense to build as we needed to, and as we shifted, the software shifted with us, and that's the beautiful part about it.
And also, I guess your team then can also weigh in on things they'd like or problems they have, and because not unlike buying something off the shelf where this is what it is, man, and hopefully maybe they'll make an upgrade, but until that happens, tough luck. You can listen and go, oh, actually, I'm hearing a lot of things. What do we do to address that in a way that you can't do anywhere else, right?
Yep. So one of the things that my whole team knows is that any good idea is welcome. Any change in process to make it better is welcome. And they all know the flexibility of Podio. And it's not a big cost compared to one of these other mega softwares. So one of the beautiful things about dealing with Podio is having that sort of combined team effort to make it better. So we have, out of all the people that I have now, I mean, we have 70 plus people working inside the Podio system. Not everybody contributes and sees the areas to improve, but there's a certain select few that love it, and they just have ideas after ideas after ideas to help their processes. So it's great. We build off of that, and that's how we expand the team and expand the software.
And I mean, one of the big things about Podio is, without question, the workflow automation that you can bring to it. Now, you guys are a really interesting case, and I know this personally because we work together, in that you had a very large and mature system, if I could say, which dealt with a lot of clients, and you weren't yet using the automation capabilities. Now, obviously, the transition between no automation to automation was an interesting and difficult journey. And that's particularly with a system your size. But tell me, if you can think back to like pre-automation and now where your system is going, where your system is now, how has that automation informed your Podio elements, or hopefully improved your life as well? Oh, knock on wood, or this is going to be a really shitty podcast.
Yeah, right. We used to have to deal with a lot of manual copy and paste. We used to have to spend 10 to 15% of our time just managing data. Right now, what's happened is that 10 to 15% of time has been saved by Podio automation. So your company, your team has done a great job automating areas that we used to do manually, where now, yes, once in a while there's a hiccup with a delay for technology, and Podio has its little, support slowdown issue with an API or something like that. But still, it's 10 times better because you can keep a tab open and focus on something else while the automation is happening in the background. So saving 10 to 15% of time per person with so many users and not having to copy and paste data is a game changer.
No, I mean, it's I remember, and it's been so fun to see your system grow, and obviously one of the big areas that one thing I always like to touch on, because people want to know where Podio can connect to. And I know that you guys, we've connected some, we've like in Game Changers, we've connected our QuickBooks Online to it. We've connected all of that. Where you can connect Podio to something like that, that brings us a very different, a very different capability to Podio. How is connecting your Podio into that process around, without getting into any specific details, but by being able to connect the financial elements, which we do for a lot of clients, how has that worked into your everyday workflow as well?
Yeah. So I used to be, I would probably consider myself, and I'm not a spreadsheet expert.
Spreadsheet king.
Yeah, but maybe I'd be in a top 1% of the 1% of spreadsheet kings. I took spreadsheets to another level. I would have Firefox open. So I usually work on Chrome, but Firefox would be open with like 8 different spreadsheets, and each one served a different function. And one of them was a master, and another one had, vendors. Another one had salespeople and commissions, and it was crazy. I learned so many different things about spreadsheets and how to manage them, that essentially spreadsheets became my 80% of what I did besides meetings was managing spreadsheets, between spreadsheets to QuickBooks to spreadsheets to QuickBooks. Eliminating that out of my life, as painful as it was, because I was so used to that, like my muscle memory was really fast with spreadsheets. Eliminating that, and then also having an exercise of figuring out how to open up the blue sky and go into automate all of that in Podio was a brain exercise. That was an IQ exercise that was very, very challenging. But it worked. It worked between your team's abilities and, all the things that we found, and all the nuances of the spreadsheet and all the nuances of our business. We figured out how to automate it, and it saved, I don't know, I can't tell you how many hours a day. I can now focus on other things. It's amazing. So absolutely great transition, great automations. I don't deal with any spreadsheets at all anymore.
That makes me so happy. I mean, it was I would always put my hand up and say that that project was a hard one. A lot of the projects we've done in the past few have been hard.
Yeah.
But and we, and timelines and all of those things can be painful and all, and all of that. But I just remember being so convinced that we could get something working for you, and that would be great. Now, and I'm glad it is, but I have a follow-up question about this specifically, because one thing I think people get really nervous about, and I remember you being nervous as well, as you would be as a business owner, being able to trust a system to give you the data in the right way, right? Like that particularly, it's okay. Like, hey, a task is missed. Usually that's not the end of the world. Like you maybe have to apologize or whatever. But when it comes to money, that is a whole level of like, whoa,
Yeah.
where everybody tightens up. How is it like? Just let me know, understand a little about the journey for you in terms of feeling comfortable, getting to feel comfortable that a financial situation connected to Podio would work.
What, rephrase that question in a different way, because I feel like I have a lot of answers. So help me
Well, it's
focus
just
on it.
because a lot of the people who listen to this podcast are people who are getting into Podio,
Right.
and so we're talking about connecting a Podio system with a finance system to automate finances.
Yeah.
That requires you to trust that the
Okay.
system's going to work. And I remember you you were concerned about that. Of course you were.
Yeah.
How was that journey like, getting to trust it?
Well, I had an issue with trusting you guys even accessing my QuickBooks account. I had to get over that and realize that essentially you guys are my software doctors. So if I had to take my shirt off in front of you, I had to do it. And I sort of learned to deal with that personal issue that I've conquested so far, because nobody else sees it, right? Besides my accountant. And then you're right. The trusting between having Podio and having the data go from QuickBooks Online to Podio and back and forth, and then making sure that things worked was huge. So what we did in our scenario is I kept my spreadsheet process, I think, for 30 or 60 days at the same time while we did this automation stuff. So I would literally work on 2 systems at the same time just to make sure and to wean off of the old system to see that the new system's working. And honestly, I had migraines, I had headaches. It was complicated. It was muscle memory that I had to reconfigure towards this new process. But in the first 30 to 60 days, I realized, I think that I had a trusting relationship. And then it took me about another couple months of just a spreadsheet sitting there in the background, just to once in a while check them and verify. That happened probably for another 3-4 months, right? Before eventually, I think 6 months later, I actually closed every single spreadsheet, which is a blessing. So yeah, trust was huge. It was important, but it was a step-by-step process.
Well, it's a fascinating, because of the business model you guys have, and being able to integrate that process is to me is so critical, and it's been a really interesting thing to watch. Now, for people who maybe, I mean, you run a team of people, you've got a team of people who work, you've got clients all over the place. Or do you have any sort of thoughts of the things that maybe a new person who is really thinking about integrating Podio into their business, what would be your kind of best bits of advice or things that maybe, I wish I'd known this then?
That's a hard question, because it's hard to see what you don't see, right? It's hard to see around the corner when you're not at that corner or at that intersection. I would have to say, trust the flexibility of Podio. Go in there, play around, implement it as a web form, and see how easy it is for your website to be able to get data into Podio without even having a coder. But if you have a process, find a team, somebody that can help you automate some of it, because it'll save you time, headaches, save you a lot of different things. But just try it, really. Once you try it and open up your mind, expand your mind, I don't know, have a drink before you play with it. Come in it with an open sort of Lego feel. Like you can create anything. You really can do anything in Podio to help you. So it's pretty badass. So just be open-minded. That's the thing. Don't look for guardrails, because there are none.
So you've got to put your own guardrails up, and I think, and start small. Start with something that can, that, as you say, start with something you can build small and have a win with right away.
Yeah.
I think sometimes is what I say to people, rather than try and start, way too big. Start with something that just hurts.
Yeah.
And fix it.
Yep. It's just awesome. Even like I said, just put up that web form and see how it collects data, and see how you don't need a spreadsheet, and see the different views and the filters. Is a great starting point.
And let me ask you one last question before I let you go. In terms of, like, because you just said data, and that to me is a really interesting. I think one of the powerful things about Podio, aside from just the ability to communicate together and work together, is the ability to filter down data and see different data sets easily. How much do you rely, or how much do you feel constrained, or you rely on Podio's ability to filter data? Does it help you or hurt you?
The data is amazing. You can import spreadsheets. You could export spreadsheets. Once you have the data in, you have endless filters. So you can filter data. You can create views. The power of the data is pretty powerful. It's really what guides us every day. We see our open tickets, open invoices, payment logs, tasks, deliverables, everything within the data. And the way you can filter data is I haven't seen any other platform give you the ability to filter and manage data the way that Podio does.
I would actually 100% agree with that. Dan, thanks so much for coming on. Just, can you give us a little summary of One Digital? Obviously, we're going to link to the website, but just tell everybody what you're all about and where they can find you.
Yep. We are the #1 e-commerce agency in the world. No, we're getting there. We're striving there. We are an e-commerce agency that handles design, development, digital marketing, SEO, PPC integrations for clients that have shopping carts. So anybody with a shopping cart, you have a shopping cart, we want to help you. So that's it. That's what we do. Elevator pitch.
Absolutely. Well, that's perfect. Dan, fantastic to see you again, my friend. I haven't seen you for a little bit, and thank you for coming on to the podcast.
You got it, man. Take care.
You've been listening to Supercharged with Jordan Samuel Fleming. Subscribe today on iTunes, Google Play, or Spotify for your weekly dive into how you can supercharge your business by making it powered by Podio. Be sure to check out our website, wearegamechangers.com, where you can learn more and arrange a 30-minute call with Jordan to help you understand how Podio supercharges you.